No, it's always a possibility, though, we could have carried on. We weren't sitting in the studio saying, okay, this is it. Last record, last track, last take.
Hello and welcome to The Album Man. Today we're finally going to be talking about Abbey Road by the Beatles and continue towards the end of my Beatles discography review. So after the ambitious White Album, the Beatles embarked on the infamous Get Back sessions. This was very much an attempt to go back to their roots, as in playing actually as a full ensemble, instead of just individual members really working on their songs with whoever I guess was around at the time, actually playing as a band instead of the individualistic approach. But while these sessions came first, they ended up resulting in the album after this one, Let It Be. So let's talk about what happened after those sessions for Abbey Road. Business problems the Beatles were facing were bogging them down, things were heated between members, and it seems that these sessions really, everyone knew that this was going to be the last Beatles album, their swan song. Abbey Road, in terms of chronological recording, really was. This is their one last hurrah, and in my opinion, and certainly the opinion of many others, this is the best thing the Beatles ever did. And I'm going to tell you track by track why I love Abbey Road. Well, it may not be unfair on the surface to consider this a Paul McCartney-dominated album, with him really taking the reins as band leader. We're going to find that many of the best compositions on the album are not his. Well, really not at all. No, he does, of course, have some wonderful, wonderful moments. The opening track, Come Together, is one of those. This is a Lennon composition with the whispered Shoot Me opening, one of the coolest sounding tracks in the band's catalogue. It's got a simple groove to it that really beginner on any of the instruments involved could probably play. But the tightness of the musicianship, the Beatles actually working together as an ensemble, is in full display here, which brings a dynamic to the otherwise rather simplistic nature of it. Ringo's drums dominating the song with this suave groove, the subtle solos thrown in by Harrison to bring it to a crescendo, but yet not overpower or dominate the song, and Lennon's nonsensical but brilliantly delivered lyrics with McCartney's tight backing vocal, to hear the classic vocal harmonies, which was not something you find as much on the individualistic White Album, is really great to hear as an opening song, and the Beatles really do come together for one hell of a jam. But certainly in my opinion, the star of Abbey Road, it's not Ringo Starr, the man of the same name, I'm sorry. It's not Paul, no, not John, no. It's good old George. To me, in the two songs he presents on Abbey Road, he does more than most artists end up doing in their entire career. And track 2 is one of those moments, Something, the beautiful, haunting love song which Frank Sinatra called the greatest love song ever written, and I believe erroneously called it the greatest Lennon-McCartney composition. But this is a Harrison song, and I certainly don't think Sinatra's wrong about it being at least one of the greatest love songs ever written. Well, Lennon and McCartney were capable of churning out classic love songs, dime a dozen. I really do feel that Harrison tops them all, to be honest, with the best track on the record. Heartfelt simplicity in its lyrics and chord progression, juxtaposed with the sort of the dynamic vivaciousness of this mix, a descending bass line, a guitar line covered in reverb, and the odd stab at an organ, George Martin's excellent string accompaniment. To build a great house, you need solid foundations, and Harrison provides such foundations, and then the rest of the band and Martin add on top at the icing on the cake, which makes this such an emotionally resonant track. I don't know how one could listen to this and honestly just not feel totally overwhelmed by the emotion that Harrison delivers. Certainly not I, for sure. And then after that, those two wonderful songs. Paul McCartney comes in. What does he bring? Maxwell's goddamn silver hammer. John remarked that this was more of Paul's granny music and didn't actually appear on the track. I mean, sure, he was involved in the car crash with Yoko as well, so was kind of recovering, but I don't think he could have been bothered with this track, and I don't really blame him. I mean, how George and Ringo got really sick of recording this because of the perfectionism that was demanded by McCartney. And you might think, oh, well, that might result in something good, all those takes. It's not really a song for me. I mean, there is a lot to praise on this album, but this song, to me, is the dud, the lone dud of the album. The annoying as hell anvil sound, which actually drives me mental. It feels like I'm just going to get a headache from listening to that anvil. It really, really annoys me. I mean, I don't want to completely slam this song, because it's a light-hearted, rather fun song, and certainly a Marmite moment on the album. And while compositionally I can certainly respect the production, the complexity to it, it sounds like it was a nightmare to record, the chorus and the anvil just honestly drives me mental, and I don't derive that much enjoyment. It's honestly the only track on Abbey Road I would ever consider skipping. But let's not be too cruel to Paul. Let's give him a second chance, and oh darling, the song after this is one that works. Channeling a sort of a 1950s doo-wop style, with the vocal performance really taking centre stage. I mean, sure, John believed that this song was more his style. He should have been given lead vocals, but the way of the Beatles, certainly at this period, it was whoever wrote it, they sung lead. And I'm sure that John would have done this very well, but I don't think that should be said to undermine McCartney's tremendous delivery. Honestly, I've always loved it with McCartney when he gets more aggressive. He goes for those 50s rock and roll, Little Richard style sort of almost screaming vocals. Like, from Twisted Shout on Please Please Me up to On the White Album. And while perhaps this song isn't anything as innovative on a musical level as certainly what we'll find later on the album, the harmonies and the looser structure to the performance, I feel really work on this song. There wasn't any Sgt. Pepper fancy production stuff that was really required. It's just a strong song, sung beautifully, passionately. It's a hard hit and it's damn catchy as hell. Octopus's Garden. I feel this is really the other Marmite song on the album, one that you either love or you hate. But I have to stand firmly in the love category for this. This is the Ringo song on the album. It's actually written by him. I mean, George Harrison did collaborate on it. But, still considering most of the Ringo songs were just given to him, at least he did. This was, I think, one of 2 songs he wrote in the Beatles catalogue. On the surface, one can see it as a throwaway children's song, in the same vein as Yellow Submarine or All Together Now. But there's really far more to it than that. There's a tranquility and innocence to the song, this childlike optimism. It doesn't have the condescending nature that most children's songs do. It's not trying to dumb things down for them, but instead it can really be appreciated on 2 levels. It has a truly universal appeal. For kids, it's a fun song about an octopus building a garden under the sea. And for adults, it's a song about trying to get away. That feeling when life becomes so overwhelming that you wish to just hide away beneath the sea. Ringo wrote this clearly with great inspiration from the hostility of the recordings of the White Album, of the Get Back sessions, of the Abbey Road sessions probably as well, with this really weighing on him. Ringo has always come across to me as a fairly chill guy, and I feel that he struggled to deal with the tension, deal with the ego. He just wanted to make music, just to drum. He didn't want this drama and showboating and ego feeding. And this song was his escape. And it's probably why George also related to it as well. Not to say McCartney alone on, part of this track, they certainly do appear and their contributions are great. But to me, this is about getting away from the fraying Lennon-McCartney dynamic that on one hand led the band to stratospheric heights, and on the other hand, led it to sub-oceanic depths and lows. I Want You, She Is So Heavy. I always wonder what it would have been like to hear this song on the day the album came out, a near 8-minute Lennon epic, which is odd, even for the experimental nature of the Beatles in this era. It's, on its surface, a simple, blatant love song to Yoko, well, lyrically. But musically, it's a saga. This song is heavy. I mean, well, Helter Skelter, some would call sort of proto-metal from the White Album. Some have even called this song proto-doom, and I wouldn't quite go that far, but it's not too far off the mark. The repetitive, heavy blues riff that drives this song towards the end, I mean, especially that 3 minutes of instrumental coda just going on and on. This song, it's so primal, so raw, as the screams of "She's So Heavy" with multi-tracked vocals just intensifying the effect. Yet simple. It's certainly very, very simple, but in that same way that Doom is. Doom, if you look at Sabbath, their riffs are very, basic power chord type riffs, which just create a sort of a hypnotic vibe to it, and you certainly get this. I mean, in some ways this is almost like putting on a sleep record. It's so hypnotic. The descending bass line, the Moogs blending into it to create white noise, and at times, in the right environment, it's terrifying and breathtaking. I think Classic Rock magazine put this on their 10 worst Beatles songs of all time. But to me, this is one of the best tracks on the album, and on my favourite Beatles album. There was just nothing else like this, and especially that abrupt ending, which even though I always know it's coming, it never fails to just make me almost jump and just sort of surprise me. And that's something that not too many songs can do time and time again. It's so powerful. But moving on to sort of side B, if we were looking at the original vinyl version, we find, well, as I said earlier, this is George's album, even though he only contributed 2 songs, so that's probably rather controversial. I'm sure many Beatles fans would love to tear me apart for that, so enjoy. But after the doom-laden I Want You, we have George, another of George's masterpieces, Here Comes the Sun. Really, this guy perfected the art of songwriting with these 2 songs. This is just, if something was just one of the most beautiful love songs I've ever heard, this is just one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard. This takes memorable acoustic guitar melodies and picking to whole new levels. So simple, but so effective, and that's really the mantra I feel of a lot of this album, a lot of the Beatles' work, let's be honest. I mean, not in the production department, certainly in the songwriting department. It's sung in a lovely way. It's just an upbeat summer tune to play when the sun is shining and life is going well. This song is always a joy. I may have been certainly harsh to George back on Sgt. Pepper with In You Without You and some of his more Indian dealings, but this is really just where I'm in love with his music. And then we get Because, which is a haunting Lennon tune with a 3-part vocal harmony between him, Paul and George, and Martin's underpinning this with a lovely harpsichord melody, which is always kind of fun, then joined by Lennon's guitar sort of mimicking it, with a Moog synth even joining in at the bridge and I think at the end of the song as well. It's certainly only short, it's not a very long song, but I think in that it's very effective in creating a dreamlike, surreal atmosphere, in the same way I think Lennon was very good at. He always had a lot more, I feel in his compositions, more of that psychedelic influence, and in the same way that Lucy in the Sky and Sgt. Pepper created such a dreamy atmosphere, you get this similar feeling of floating above the sound from Because, though certainly in a far more subtle way than Lucy. We've got to move on to the meat and potatoes of the album. You know this is coming. This is the medley. I said this was a Paul-led project, and this is where you really see Paul's influence. The 16-minute long medley suite. Now, I mean, it was also Martin's idea. He certainly would claim part of the idea for combining these short songs into a suite. It was McCartney which brought this to life. Not to say all these compositions are just McCartney, because Lennon certainly did contribute quite a few of them, but the way it's structured, the way it's done, this is a rather McCartney thing. And honestly, for a major act at the time, this is kind of a risky, ambitious move, as here they almost start to herald the age of prog, of suites and of long songs, and for their last hurrah to push this many boundaries is honestly just spellbinding. Admittedly, I have to say, when I was younger, I did not enjoy this part of the album at all. I actually didn't like Abbey Road that much. It was, honestly, for a while, my least favourite Beatles album. Yeah, genuinely. And this section, this is what really put me off the album. But nowadays, I see this, honestly, as their swan song, a majestic goodbye from Liverpool's greatest contribution to the world. It's McCartney's You Never Give Me My Money which opens the suite. It's a song which details the dispute between McCartney and Alan Klein, which for the sake of brevity I'm not going to go into, but it involves a lot of acrimony in Apple Corp, so something you kind of expect in this stage of the Beatles' career. But this song, in the space of 4 minutes, it moves through so many sections and styles, starting as a simple piano ballad in the similar vein as we saw Happiness is a Warm Gun back on the White Album. As it messes around with structure, we hear solos even from John as well as George towards the end, as the arpeggiated guitar kicks in and McCartney's vocals become more intense. I mean, how there's even a nursery rhyme section here. It's a really fun song, and somehow actually maintains its coherence, which I'll never understand considering how many sections it has in such a short space of time. It says more than many prog bands do in 20 minutes, just in these 4 minutes, and it's certainly a feat that few bands could pull off. Sun King, though, has a far more psychedelic tone to it than what we found really in Abbey Road. Yet it certainly shares the same vocal harmonies, three-way ones from Because, and that same dream-like quality. The effect of stereo panning is wonderfully used in the mixing of this, with the lead guitar at the beginning and the end, again, all of this reverberated guitar. And then it goes into these Spanish lyrics towards the end, which appear unexpected, but not so much as the ending, which you could swear it's just going to continue, and then boom, Mean Mr. Mustard suddenly sweeps in. This simple little story with that trademark Beatles humorous storytelling, you know, in the way that they do in Sgt. Pepper with something like Lovely Rita or Eleanor Rigby on Revolver, etc. But this song is more just a little segue into the fantastically scouse Polythene Pam, which is about a woman at the Caving Club who literally used to eat polythene, which sounds like one of those odd people that you see on that programme My Strange Addiction, I guess. But as someone from Liverpool, with admittedly not that much of a Liverpudlian accent, this song always brings a smile to my face with its zany lyricism and blatant Scouse accent. It's raw, but it's fun as hell. As I said, it brings a smile to my face, good old Polythene Pam. Love it when Lennon throws out Scouse. And it moves into She Came In Through the Bathroom Window, which is about some hangers-on at the Apple Studios who once snuck into Paul's house through the bathroom window and just took a few things. Yep, you know, people certainly went a bit mad about the Beatles back then. This song begins really the slew of Paul tunes, which closes the melody. It's honestly, She Came Through the Bathroom Window, it's just such a catchy Beatles pop song. It's in contrast almost to the more experimental tracks on the album. It's far more throwback, maybe to sort of Rubber Soul, Revolver, just intelligent pop songs, but it's certainly showing more the production values of their later efforts. It's a really perfect fusion, and then we have a pause before the finale really begins. Golden Slumber is the first part of the climax, loosely based on the poem by Thomas Dekker. It's a very Paul, beautiful piano ballad. It has a tremendous amount of passion though, and the gravitas, the reason it's a captivating song is because Paul's voice just really holds you firmly into this one, as then Carry My Weight comes through with some great ingenuity. As well, at first it just seems like a big sing-along song. It moves into then the reprise of the beginning of You Never Give Me Your Money, calling back to the start, and then moving into something from Golden Slumbers before back to the initial chorus. Honestly, to chronicle the amount of things this song does in 1 minute 36 would take far longer than 1 minute 36. Let's just say that as a penultimate theme, it's really masterful. You see this technique used in a lot of epic prog songs towards the end, or concept albums. They often call back to earlier parts to bring everything together, to tie up all the loose ends musically for the finale, which is what the Beatles do here for the aptly named The End, featuring the only drum solo that Ringo ever did on a Beatles song, and a particularly climactic guitar solo from Harrison coming through the mix. It's a perfect end to the Beatles' career. There is a part from every member reflecting their own style, their own personality, which they brought to the band throughout their career, and as if it couldn't get any better, you have the final line, and in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. which honestly seems a perfect summary of the Beatles' legacy, their music and message. If there ever was a greater swan song in rock music, I've yet to hear it. In terms of scope, ambition, execution, the finale, the medley of Abbey Road is mind-blowing. It holds up so well to this day, and is still just as exhilarating as I can imagine it would have been, you know, putting on the record in 1969. And, okay, I mean, let's be honest, technically, Her Majesty closes the album, which I know I said earlier that it was Maxwell Silver Hammer, which is the worst track on the album. But if we have to count Her Majesty, then yes, it's the worst track on the album, one of the worst things the Beatles ever did. I mean, it's inoffensive, it's just so goddamn pointless. I don't know why they honestly attached it to the end. It's 23 seconds that I'll never get back, I guess. No, it's really just so dull. I don't give a shit about it. Go away, Her Majesty. The end, such a perfect way to end the album. And that's it. Well, there is one more album to cover in this discography, which has literally taken me 3 years to cover so far. This is certainly the album I consider to be the closing of the band's catalogue. Chronologically it is, in terms of recording at least, and musically it showcases the best of each member, but also, crucially, their power as a force together. After they parted ways, each, well, aside from Ringo, let's be honest, would make some wonderful music. But nothing they ever did ever reached the heights that Abbey Road did, that ever reached the heights that the Beatles did. This is one of the great albums in rock, and it really does stand the test of time. Since 1969, nothing really sounds quite like it. I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10, and yes, it is Maxwell Silver Hammer that's bringing it down, and I guess Her Majesty as well. But that's why it doesn't receive a perfect score. But aside from that, it's pretty damn good. So next up, we have finally Let It Be. This has been TheAIbumMan. Thanks for watching. Comment, subscribe, and as usual, long live rock and roll.
You know, they gave their money and they gave their screams, but the Beatles kind of gave their nervous systems, which is, you know, a much more difficult thing to give.